I'm sure you're expecting Father Norm, because this is Flock Notes. Father was called away to a diocesan meeting today, and he and I were actually going to share this time period together to talk to you about two special things, I think, in my heart. One is the All Souls Mass that we're going to be having on November 2nd, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But also, for some of you, it will be to introduce you to our grief support group. Formerly, it was called the Loss and Recovery, and I think so many people didn't understand what that was, me being one of them. So we decided, what is the purpose of that group? And it really is to bring people together to share in community when someone has died, or it can be someone lost a job, someone lost their animal. I know one of the things for me was when my boys left, two boys, Ian and Joshua, when they both went off to college and it was the empty nest. To me, that was a sense of loss. So there are so many numerous ways that we grieve. And so what our group is meant to do is to support you no matter what the grief is. I'm going to talk a little bit about my history and why this group is important to me, and then I'll be able to transition into the All Souls Mass. I've been a member of St. Vincent Parish for over 30 years. Had been at St. Sebastian's previously, and if you're ever interested, I'll tell you the story of why we came to St. Vincent. But my two boys, and I think we were very fortunate to be able to have them go to St. Vincent Grade School. I work as a consultant, and my husband, of course, works, Donald. But I wanted to be involved. So I was the cafeteria helper, I was a room mother, I ended up being president of the Parents Club. And then when they went off to high school, Ian, my youngest, chose Hoban, and Joshua chose St. Vincent St. Mary. Well, again, getting all involved, I had the distinct pleasure of being the president of the Parents Club at both of those schools, not at the same time, but I want to talk to you a little bit, though, about the younger son, Ian Patrick. Ian was a real special kid. He was a star athlete. He was co-captain of the football team, co-captain of the baseball team, and lettered in both sports as a sophomore with the varsity letters. So he was really in tune with athletics, his love of sport, team. And on his 15th year, in July, we were in Kiowa Island, South Carolina, where we vacationed the previous 2 or 3 years. Ian, I had just picked him up at a football camp. He had been there for a week, not a scratch on him. As it turns out, he jumped 4 steps. Instead of taking step by step, he jumped. His knee went out of the socket but came right back in, which was so rare, but it severed his artery. So for the next 23 years, that young man suffered with nerve damage. He wore a brace, he was on meds, but he turned his life from athletics into meaningful Christianity. Father Norm knows him very well. They were real good buddies. And so Ian was involved in so much in the community, and he was all about giving. He was a generous soul. But he did have that problem. And for 23 years, he had to take medication. And unbeknownst to us, it really weighed on his heart and enlarged it. And so on September 17th of 2019, his heart literally exploded. So we lost him like that. Well, needless to say, I go back to the Blessed Virgin Mother. You know, she carried all these things in her heart. She knew the sorrow she would experience, but yet she still wanted to really be involved and love that son of hers and then continue on the work he was doing. And I think of that so often because no mother really expects, I don't think, to bury a child. That year, of course, he died September, I came to the All Souls Mass. And of course, his name was read and quite emotional. But afterwards, again, Mary Margaret, our little saint walking among us, had a lovely dinner. And Father Norm And Erin Tripp came up to me and said, we know what you're dealing with, but we also know who you are. And we are starting a grief support group. Do you think you'd be interested? Oh, absolutely. I would be very interested because it was the right moment for me. And I think that's what it is for the grief support. And that is, if it's the right moment for you or for someone you know, someone in your family, maybe a neighbor, maybe a friend. And as I said, it doesn't have to be with someone dying like I had. It could be the loss of anything you perceive as hurting your heart. Coming together, the grief support group, what we do is we share. Now, you don't have to say anything. You can sit. But as we sit and listen, every single one of us learn. During COVID, we did the sessions via Zoom, and we're going to continue that. But also we're going to be face-to-face. And it's going to be on the third Saturday of every month. And the upcoming one is November 19th. And they will be 10 to 11, just 1 hour to come and share. There will be a theme dedicated every single meeting, so you'll know it in advance, and hopefully it will be of interest to you. And it might even be something that you want to participate to share, or there's some topic you would like to be able to learn more about or share. That's what we're here for. One of the things that introduced me and what started the group was the All Souls Mass. So the All Souls Mass this year is going to be on November 2nd, and it will be at 5:30 in the church. And then again, Mary Margaret, our walking saint, is going to have a lovely dinner. There's going to be information in the bulletin with an RSVP, and that's mainly to help her as she plans the dinner. Now, if by chance you don't RSVP, do not think you should not come, because there'll be plenty, I promise you. We want you to be a part of this community and to share in how each of us can support one another. Jesus said, I remain in you and you remain in me. He also talked about he creates a place for us. I think he does. And sometimes, as Saint Therese said, you are exactly where you need to be. So if you don't feel that, and you feel that you would want to talk with someone or just share with someone, here's a great opportunity to do it. Again, for me, it made such a difference in my life. And I know from the people that have come to the meeting, they can say the same thing. So hopefully you will think about the All Souls Mass and share in the dinner with us. And then also that you will consider coming to our grief support group on November 19th. There's also one thing I wanted to share with you which touched my heart. I went back and looked at the beatification of Blessed Carlo Attucci, the 15-year-old internet wizard who my son thought was fabulous. Not to mention that they looked very much alike. The interesting thing about Carlo is his tomb is in Saint Mary Magdalene in Assisi in Italy, and my sister was just there recently, and his body is absolutely perfectly preserved. And to me, that's such a sign of the beauty of Carlo and how he reached out to youth to be able to touch their hearts. And because he touched their hearts and the heart was such a big thing, the relic of Blessed Carlo is his heart. And right now it is in a exhibit touring the United States from October 17th through the 30th. It's at St. Cosmas and Damian in Twinsburg. I encourage you to go and experience what this young man meant and why Pope Francis understood that he was a walking saint among us. So that's one other thing. As the grief group looks at where can we bring messages, that's one of them that I can bring to you. I want to end with a prayer which is the Anima Christi. It means the world to me, and I think it touches every aspect of our faith. Soul of Christ, sanctify me. Body of Christ, save me. Blood of Christ, inebriate me. Water from the side of Christ, wash me. Passion of Christ, strengthen me. O good Jesus, hear me. Within thy wound hide me. Suffer me not to be separated from thee. From the malignant enemy defend me. But at the hour of my death call me and bid me come to thee, so that with thy saints I may praise you forever. God bless you. Peace of God be with you. And I have to end with what Father Norm would say. You go out in your mission territory, and by all means, love and support each other. Hope to see you November 2nd.